Welcome to Global Professionals in Portugal. Today, my guest is Diane Daudin Clavaud. She is the Global Business Development Manager for Nobu Hospitality, and she is based in Lisbon, although she had a very interesting journey to get there. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to hear a little bit about your journey of how you came to be in Portugal.
Okay, so I'm a pure product of Brittany. I left around 17, 18 to Morocco. So I was between Brest and Morocco where I was doing some study, but then I was being a journalist. So I started as a journalist and then I moved to Saudi Arabia when I was maybe 24 or 25. And I stayed for 15 years. And then I moved to Portugal 4 years ago in Lisbon.
Why did you choose Portugal from Saudi Arabia?
I wanted to do an executive MBA. I left Saudi Arabia and I had the choice between IE in Madrid or INSEAD in Paris. My CV is quite Anglo-Saxon and American, and I've been working for quite a lot of American brands. I applied for MIT Sloan, and it's actually MIT Sloan who told me that they have a partnership with Europe, and it's actually in Lisbon. When you enter those kind of MBA, they want to get to know you. So you kind of need to them weakness for your challenges or what moves you. And I was saying that I am European, but it's true that I've lived for 25 years outside from France. And I felt that I don't really know Europe anymore. And I was quite scared to come back to work in Europe. So they said, why don't you do the partnership between Europe and MIT? It's called the Lisbon MBA. You do have a session in MIT. So I was like, why not? And that's how I came to Lisbon at the beginning.
Did you have to stop working or were you working while you went to school?
So you have both. You have international and you have executive. So I was really between both at the beginning, and I chose to do the executive because the age of the people in the class, and also because it was a comeback from
Mhm.
Saudi. For me, it was quite hard to adapt. So I did it as executive, so I have time for myself. For me, it was more like assimilating the executive MBA, consulting a little bit, and getting to know Europe and smoothly landing back.
Right.
I was not really happy to leave the Middle East, but I did it because I always have this kind of mindset. If I am on my deathbed, do I just want to say, oh my God, Saudi Arabia was amazing? But that's only what I know. When I look at those 5 years and a half, I've done so much different things that we have never done there. It's quite comfortable life. It's quite difficult to in Saudi for in social or different matters, but financially and work-wise, it's quite exciting. I wanted to try something else. So yes, that's why I took that time because it was quite hard. I'm from Brittany, as I said, so I'm a sailor. So it was
Okay.
great also to be back to a city where you can sail and there's this culture of sailing. So I was quite happy to do this as well.
You said it was a tough adjustment. The winter, the weather was obviously different from living in the desert. What were some of the other challenges that you found in being in Portugal and how did you overcome them or how did you adapt to them?
You attract what you fear. Administratively, I think Europe has an old way to do things. Funny enough, when you're in Saudi, from your bank account, everything was so easy. I don't know how to explain to you. You don't have these layers of administrative and papers. You could basically do mostly things online. If that person told you no, you cannot do it, you actually have his name and they ask you all the time if you're happy or not. So you basically have the customer journey. Saudi is based on the fact that you could be anyone, and
Okay.
if you work enough and you're quite structured and you know how to structure yourself, it's culture where entrepreneurial is actually pushed. I would say supported. In Europe, they say it is, but everything is done to basically disgust you of being your own boss or your entrepreneur. It's changing, but the Anglo-Saxon culture is also, like the Saudi culture, is also very positive, very optimistic. Yes, we can. You meet someone, for example, the American Business Club or the British Business Club everywhere in the world. Those clubs are done for, oh, you succeed. Tell me how you succeed. I'd love to learn from you. It's a very different mindset.
Have you been able to find other professionals in Lisbon to connect with?
I didn't have this problem of connecting with Portuguese. First, because I knew so many Portuguese in Saudi Arabia. So they either they went back here, so they came back, or either they introduced me as a friend. I already knew the culture. I came here many times.
Oh,
And also in my class, I was really immersed in the Portuguese community. And also, to be honest, the French is so close to the Portuguese
yeah.
language that I think you need to be really dumb not to understand when you're reading Portuguese, when you're French. After COVID, it became much more cosmopolitan. It's like at the Brexit, I mean, so many Anglo-Saxons start to arrive, and then since 2 years, it's like so many Americans. And then that's when actually I had the choice, should I stay or should I go? Because in my job, I can basically be based anywhere else.
Okay.
It would be much better for me to be in London. But I stayed because you had this like mass of Anglo-Saxon coming. Some people like it, some people don't like it. But for me, I always think that this Anglo-Saxon mass may make the ecosystem more dynamic, invest in a different way, are being creative in a different way, are more like problem solution. When I think the European could be problem, let's think about the problem. The Portuguese will look at the problem and try to see it on every side. The American and British are like, okay, problem solution. So I think it has been good for the city. I'm part of French Tech, which is of the Ministry of Economy to boost the startup and the scale up from France. I'm part of the American Club of Lisbon,
Right.
and I was just elected board member. So yes, true.
Congratulations.
So that's for me was it's refreshing. I think they are very curious. There is always a conversation about everything. So yeah, so I'm part of some groups.
It's interesting, growing up when I traveled, being American, I always thought we were like rude and obnoxious and loud. And so I've been trying to rein it in and be less loud. But since I've been here and more as an adult and more involved in the business community, I would say that there is really an energy that people respect about American business people, which is kind of nice because I don't, when you're inside of a culture, you don't really think that what you're doing is special. It's just how you are, right? So,
It's true. It's
but
true.
yeah.
It's very true. Throughout Saudi Arabia, the one who were doing, the one who were leading the change, McKinsey, BCG, like all those consulting
Mhm.
company, when you look at it. So there must be something good as matter of pace in business. I work for an American company. And for me, it would be very, very hard to not work for an American company.
One of the things I'm seeing from these interviews every week is in every international business community, we all want something different, or we would have just stayed where we were. You want new opportunity, a new environment, a new culture. And so it makes sense to me that you are a seeker because you left at age 17. You went to Morocco. You're somebody who wanted to find your place.
It depends where you are from. I think for me, I was from Brittany, and I think in winter, you must have like 20 people living there. Now, when I go to Paris, I really love it. I'm like, oh wow, the French are like witty. The French are like entrepreneurial ecosystem is there. Like before, it would never occur to me. So I think it's also where you are from. Where is your referee point?
What was it like finishing business school and then looking for a job?
I always thought at one point I would go back to Saudi, but then I was like, I think I should do something different. I just finished MIT. I'd like to work in a crossroad between investment and entrepreneurial. My specialty in MIT was entrepreneurship. So I was like, what I would love to is enter either an investment fund or enter a scale up. Then I decided to build my own restaurant after a conversation with a friend. She has a boutique hotel and she wanted a food and beverage outlet.
Mhm.
So I was like, I could be part of that project and do that. So I built that restaurant, run it, and then sold it.
You did build and run the restaurant, or that was just an idea that you had?
No, I did it because then my friend after COVID couldn't take it. So I actually did
Oh,
it. And then I could have developed it through a chain,
yeah.
but I didn't. I love to do it, but I didn't like to run it.
Okay.
I'm good at it, but I don't like to do it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So this is why at the same time, Nobu management came back.
You sold the restaurant and now you are developing new properties for Nobu, right?
So I'm the corporate director of global business development. So what I do is I try to find the next Nobu in the world. So basically, Nobu doesn't invest in assets. We are asset free. So basically, outside of US, we are looking for the right asset, but also the right partner. They are usual high net worth individual. They own already hotel or they don't. I try to have the right partner with the right asset, and I propose Nobu, and then I negotiate the whole process of the deal.
What are some of the things that you really love about living in Lisbon?
Sailing. I
Okay.
think it's a capital where it's very easy to sail.
Okay.
I know it's only the river, but then the ocean is quite close. It's having a marina which is like very close to your house. So this I really like. I love their food. Might be sometimes a bit oily, but all those like pulpo, seafood. They have an amazing food scope, and I love the fact that you're so close also from the sea. You can go to the beach and having a plunge very quickly and then just come back. I think that's pretty good. And then I was going to say the weather because they market it as a 350 days of sun, but this year I'm not going to say this because it hasn't been very sunny.
Do you have any other advice or tips for somebody who either is living here and wants to explore more or who is thinking about working from Portugal?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning, like the way I did it is you have to work your ecosystem. So basically, I think you have to work the ecosystem and accept everything at the beginning and then just go. And then you'll be able to form your community. Or I think Lisbon is mainly a digital nomad home. I think it's more city that attract this kind of like business active.
Diane, thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for tuning in and watching. Please comment with your questions, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you for having me.